So I'm just going to start by showing you one of our new brand videos to give you kind of an idea of the brand.
Don't visit Norway. Don't visit Bergen, Tromsø, or Lofoten. We built the foundation of the Norwegian coastline for you to live it, feel, taste, breathe Norway. Dive into our history and listen to untold stories. Understand where we come from and learn where we're heading. Care for the coast we sail on, as we have done for generations, and will continue to do for generations to come. Travel like us and become a part of who we are. So when our paths cross again, we'll greet each other like old friends. So don't just visit, live the legend of Norway.
So I'll start just by giving you a little bit of history about Hurtigruten. So Hurtigruten translates to the fast route or the express route. It was founded in 1893 by a government contract to improve the communications along the Norwegian coast. So until the 1940s, most ports in north of Trondheim couldn't be reached by road from Oslo, so the sea was the only means of access. And then in the 1960s, the role of Hurtigruten changed, in part because the constructions of the local airports and roads improved. And that's when they started to emphasize more on tourism. So new, bigger and better ships were built, more luxurious. And then in the 80s, they added things like hot tubs, bars, restaurants, etc. So Hurtigruten still serves an important part along the coast as a passenger ship and as a cargo ship. We operate 365 days of the year and run a service nearly every day of the week. So one of the questions that you might get asked is why to travel with Hurtigruten. I know many of the other ships offer Norwegian Fjord cruises. So I guess one thing is how do we differ from them? What is different in the experience on Hurtigruten rather than them? So one of the main reasons is that the larger ships can't travel the coastline like we do. They can't get as close to the coast. Partly because of the level of certification that's needed to do that, and partly because their ships are too big to be permitted into the narrow fjords. So this means that we can take guests to ports that they can't see on any other ship. So I don't know if anyone's seen this in some recent press releases, but we've just appointed Tom Kurz as what we have called our chief Aurora chaser. So he's an expert in the Northern Lights, and he is going to be joining some of our cruises, and he will just be running things like workshops and activities and events on board that will just enrich the guest experience. So if there are guests that are particularly interested in the Northern Lights and want to really maximize their experience of the Northern Lights, it's a once in a lifetime trip, then to take one of the sailings with Tom Kurz on board would just give them everything that they need. So there's, like I said, there's only certain dates. They can be found on the website and booked through there. So we are considered one of the world's greenest cruise lines. We don't have any single-use plastic on board. The waste from our ships is recycled. We have the world's first hybrid powered ships, and then the rest of the ships run partly on biogas. Now, these are the 3 standard routes that we offer. We have the classic route, which is run all year round. This goes from Bergen up to Kirkenes and then back again. And then we have two seasonal voyages, which is the Svalbard Express, which is runs through the summer months, and then the North Cape Express, which runs through the winter months. This Svalbard Express and the North Cape Express, we refer to these as our signature sailings. They both operate a little bit more like a standard cruise ship, so there are fewer stops, there's longer time in ports, and we also offer an all-inclusive on these ones. So all drinks are included in the price of the cruise. So on these ones, there are no added extras. Whereas on the classic route, that one isn't all-inclusive. So drinks are paid for separately. This wasn't working. I'll just use my pad. So this is this just gives you a bit more of an idea of the classic route. From Bergen at the bottom here, it goes all the way up to Kirkenes, which is on the Russian border, and then all the way back down again. That is a 12-day sailing to do the whole route, but then that can also be broken up into either a northbound or a southbound sailing. So 7 days on a northbound and 6 days on a southbound. So you can take it in either direction. It can also then be broken down into smaller sailings as well, but they're the kind of main ones that would probably be booked. So because we run 365 days of the year, we also cover all seasons. And a lot of guests will probably ask, what is the best time of year to go? And the answer to that is really depends on what someone wants to experience from their sailing. Winter is obviously the Northern Light season, so traveling between September and February is Northern Light season. But then if guests are particularly interested in nature, they might want to travel in kind of spring, summertime, when the snow starts to melt and the waterfalls are created and the landscapes are kind of all blooming. So it really depends what time, what they want to experience, and maybe if they've already traveled once, to try another season would be a good idea, so that they can experience something completely different. So I will send the presentation out afterwards so that you've got the information here, so you can have it kind of at your fingertips. If you do get asked, you've got the information of what is available in each season and the kind of experience that guests can have. So this is our fleet of ships. As you can see, passenger capacity on all of them is fairly small. So it is a very small ship. It needs to be, like I said, to get into some of the ports and to be allowed into the fjords that it travels in. So it is quite a kind of intimate experience on the ship. Bit of an idea of the deck plan and where the cabins are situated, the restaurants, etc. So all the restaurants and services are on deck 4, and then observation deck on deck 7. So some of the other things that you'll find on the ships to do, there's the the customer services, we have a shop where they can buy merchandise, Helly Hansen merchandise usually. We have seating, plenty of seating areas, and a fully equipped gym. Our cabins, there are 4 categories of cabins. So you've got the Expedition Suite, which is this one, the Arctic Superior here, the Polar Inside, Polar Outside, sorry, and the Polar Inside. So pretty standard in terms of kind of cruise cabins, your inside, your outside, your suites. As you see the beds here in the Polar Insides, they are separate beds and they can only be separate beds. But any more information that's wanted on cabins, because they can be a little bit complicated, then I can give that to you afterwards if you want it. So food on board. We have 70 local suppliers along the coast who deliver food to 15 of our ports. So on the classic route, as we're going along the coast, we'll pull in and we will be collecting food from some of the ports as we go. And that will be fish that's been caught on that day that the chef will then cook and serve for you that evening. So we support local communities and we buy our produce from along the coast. You see here reindeer. Reindeer is very popular in Norway. So you can experience that if you would like. Our restaurants, we have the standard restaurant and bistro, and we also have one restaurant that you can dine in at an additional cost. Everything else is included in the ship. We also have a bar and lounge, which is on deck 7. It has floor-to-ceiling windows in the bar, so that you can sit and you can kind of watch the world go by as you sit on your local delicacies. Like our food, our wine, spirits and beers are also selected from suppliers along the coast. So a couple of the suppliers are shown on the map there, just to give you an idea of some of the places that we collect from. So as well as experiencing Norway when you're off the ship, the important thing to know is that the guests will experience Norway on the ship as well. So everything that they're eating, drinking, doing, activities they're attending, they are all based on a Norwegian experience. So they will be fully immersed into Norway. And that's kind of one way, I guess, that we differ from other companies, because you will see Norway when you're off the ship, but then when you're back on the ship, it's a completely different experience. Whereas the two for us are completely integrated. So we do offer things like photography courses on board. So there's a team of experts that can help you to take really good photos if that's what you're into. Observation decks, obviously all around the ship, so you can see everything that you're experiencing. Hot tubs, they're not available on all the ships, but there are on a couple. Gym, and of course a sauna, because the Norwegians love a sauna. Windows in the sauna as well, so you can watch if you want to go at night and watch the sky as you go, then you can do. And then we have things like lectures, so they'll explain to you, they'll give you a talk if you want to attend these sorts of things, where you've been that day, interesting facts about the places that you've been, and then also give you a schedule for the next day of where you're going and what you can do in those destinations. We do things like food prep out on deck, on top deck. So one of the chefs will go out on top deck and they'll prepare, show you how to prepare fish or gut fish or meat, whatever it is. They'll give demonstrations, and there'll be food tasting as well. Talks, like I said, this is a Viking stories if you're into that. So yeah, there's just a couple of things that we have to offer on board. And that is it in a complete snapshot.